Well, hello, friends. Welcome back to Commute Talk. It's wet on the road today, so I think it must have been raining while I was not here, but it's all good. I looked at the GitHub repository this morning before I went to the car, and it said that we have 100 individual contributors to Serenity OS now, which is just a crazy number, and it's really cool, I think. It's some kind of a milestone for sure. And actually, the number is a little bit higher than that because some people sent me code that they wanted me to commit, but they did not want attribution. So the number is a little bit higher, but seeing it on the repository page makes it official, right? So 100 people have contributed code to this operating system. And I think that's so cool. I was never expecting it to get to this point, and I think if I've learned anything from this whole experience is that I need to stop trusting my expectations and just rolling with it, because everything is going much, much better than I thought it would. So I'm just gonna stop expecting stuff now, and instead we'll just roll with it and see what happens. I think that'll be fine. So I wanted to talk about something today, right? Beginners. So lately I'm getting a lot of messages and emails and stuff from programming beginners, and a lot of them are asking me how to learn programming, or how to learn C++, or how to learn operating system development. And some of them are also asking, like, what should I do now? I'm stuck with my programming problem, or, beginner questions, right? And I find it a little bit difficult because I don't really target beginners with my content, right? And I'm not really making beginner-friendly videos, but I understand that you would ask these questions, so if you're a beginner and you've been contacting me like this, and maybe you found it weird that the response you got was me pointing you in like a couple of different directions and then disappearing, but that's not to be rude. That's on purpose, because I very firmly believe that when you're a beginner, the last thing you need is somebody else's dogma. You don't need me telling you how you should do things, and you definitely don't need me solving your programming problems for you. What you really need is to learn the skill of information finding, and specifically like programming information finding, because if you get into programming, then information finding is the single most important thing that will drive you forward in your development as a programmer. Because you can learn the language syntax, and you can learn your standard library and so on, but if you don't know how to figure out information for yourself, then you're going to have a very hard time making progress. So the important thing when you're a beginner is to just start to figure out how to Google or Bing things, or DuckDuckGo to the polls or whatever, and learn how to find documentation for things, and learn how to read documentation, how to make the most of it. If you have a language that you're using, then get really comfy and familiar with looking things up. And something that's really great about many programming language documentation libraries is that they very often have examples where you can see stuff used in context, and then you can also get exposed to other things. So, for example, when I've been learning PHP many years ago, I really loved that you could do php.net/function name in your browser, and it would bring you to the documentation for the function page, documentation for that function, rather. And you could also find links to other functions, and I would always click on them to see what else can it do, right? And just that kind of thing, where you sort of open your filter, so you're not only looking for the thing that you're trying to solve right now, but you're also taking in all kinds of information that will come to you. Just sponge it up. That kind of passive information gathering while you're doing active information gathering, very, very important skill. And I think this is like, it's this sort of meta programming that does not get talked about so much, but it is absolutely crucial to get good at it if you want to get good at programming in general. So if you're a beginner, I would say don't go looking for someone to solve your problems or someone to tell you how to do things, but rather go looking for information and try to absorb as much random other information as you can while you're searching for the thing you're searching for right now. Now, as I said, I don't really do beginner targeted content on this channel, right? And my project is not a beginner friendly project, but you're in luck because there is infinity content for beginners on the internet. We're living in the most spoiled time in terms of information availability, right? If you're watching this video, then you have access to the internet where you can learn about anything. So I do recognize that there's a quality problem with beginner content, because I think what happens, for some reason, a lot of people, when they come out of the beginner stage, then they figure out the thing I should do now is to try to teach beginners. And I think that's especially stupid, honestly. And especially you see these people who charge money and they're like just barely out of the beginner stage themselves and they're charging money to teach other beginners. That's really not cool. And you have no business doing that. But I guess quite literally they do have business doing that because it seems to make money. But and it is unfortunate that this happens, because if you are a proper beginner, then it's hard to distinguish between people who know what they're doing and people who act like they know what they're doing to try to sell you something. Now, that's okay, because that's part of your information finding skill journey, is to learn how to separate these things. And I will say one thing about learning programming and being a beginner: you do not need to pay anyone to teach you programming. You absolutely do not. If you are interested in programming, you can learn it for free. You can, and I promise you. And anyone trying to convince you that you need to pay somehow to learn programming, they are full of baloney. You do not need to pay. Now, if you want to, you can, but you should be very honest with yourself about what is the actual convenience that you're paying for when you do that, because all of the resources needed to learn programming are freely available in spades, like so many spades. So you can definitely do this for free. I just really wanted to say that, because it's something that it irks me a little bit to see people selling beginner courses to people who don't know any better yet. I don't know. Anyways, it is what it is, right? And if you're selling these things, then I hope for your conscience that you are providing some value that's outside of what you can gain from like self-studies. But you can really do this for free. Anyway, now that we have alienated the people who make programming classes, I think that it's awesome that you're a beginner in programming, and I'm really happy for you, because it's an amazing field and you're going to have so much fun learning more about it. But start with getting better at information finding, because to this day, it's still the thing that I do the most, and the thing that I find the most challenging is finding all the information that I need to solve some problem. And it's always been like that. And it's infinitely better today than it was 20 years ago, but it's still hard. So that's that. Anyways, I just wanted to talk about this a bit today because of all the beginner messages I get. And I'm really happy that everybody's having fun with programming and people are learning and moving forward. And it's really exciting to see the next generation of programmers waking up, discovering that they find this so interesting. So it's lovely to have you all here. Anyways, that's about it for today. So thanks for hanging out with me on the commute, and I will see you next time. Bye.